Let's learn Rescue Ace. Why is it on fire? I thought they put out the fires. What the heck? And welcome back to Let's Learn, YugiTube's fieriest deck building show. I'm your host, Hardleg Joe, if you didn't know, joined as always by Twitch chat, down there posting emotes saying hi to themselves, and also my good companion, Critter. Critter, how you doing today? Aw, it's adorable as always. You got any tips for the people on how to prevent forest fires? Well, that's more gonna start a forest fire, but you know, a tip is a tip. And if you're unfamiliar with Let's Learn, this is what I call a blind deck building show. I currently don't know how to play Rescue Ace. I'm gonna be jumping in here for the first time, reading all these cards, and trying to use my 15 years of Yu-Gi-Oh experience to figure out the deck. As such, this will not be the best Rescue Ace build, or even necessarily a competent build, but it should give you some insight both into this archetype, knowing all the cards and what they do, but also into the deck building process. If you're new to Yu-Gi-Oh! Or new to building your own decks and you want to know how experienced players go about it, this should give you some insight into the process. Now before we jump into it, I want to go ahead and give a thanks to this episode's sponsor, Dude Blade X, who's just a patron. They're just a patron who donated a whole bunch of money to make this episode. And I want to thank them because if it weren't for people like them, you'd have to hear from actual sponsors like companies and stuff. And I don't want that. You don't want ads. The less ads, the better. So thanks to them down in the comments. And you know, if you want to join them, maybe become a patron yourself, just $1 gets you on the Discord. There's a link down in the description. Otherwise, let's go ahead and flame on. That's a Fantastic Four reference. The Human Torch. So as always, when you're first jumping into an archetype, it can be a little difficult to know where to start, but there's one golden rule that I always follow, and chat already seems to know. Chat, where do you begin when you want to learn an archetype?
The field spell.
The field spell.
The field spell is indeed where you want to start, especially when you're talking about modern archetypes. Usually field spells unify all the different themes and effects of the archetype, and Rescue Ace just happens to have one. Rescue Ace HQ. While your opponent controls a monster, all Rescue Ace monsters gain 500 attack and defense. During your main phase, you can normal summon one Rescue Ace in addition to your normal summoner set. You can only gain this once per turn. And then once per turn, you can target 4 of your Rescue Ace cards that are banished or in the graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, and draw 1 card. Alright, well this is a very interesting one, because on the one hand, this is a very good card. Sometimes when I do this, we go into the field spell, and all it does is give everything like 200 attack, and it's useless, or maybe it's just a search card. But this does a whole lot of stuff. Universal attack and defense boost, additional normal summon, and recycling. Those are all great, but none of them are like specific or unique. If Rescue Ace has a gimmick, I can't tell it from the field spell. It doesn't really give us anything. So we're gonna set that aside for now and instead go with the monsters. And it's kind of unique here because they've got a big like level 9 monster, clearly some kind of boss, but they've also got like a level 1 monster that might be unifying. Usually I say go for the higher level monsters, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. I'm pretty sure this is their boss monster. This should give us some idea over what their win condition is, so let's check it out. We've got Rescue Ace Turbulence, a level 9 machine with 3,000 attack, 3,000 defense, and the following effect. You can banish 2 Rescue Ace cards from your graveyard, special summon this card from your hand. During your main phase, you can set up to 4 Rescue Ace quick play spells / normal traps with different names directly from your deck. If another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it. You can only use each effect of Rescue Ace Turbulence once per turn. Yeah, talk about a boss effect. Setting 4 cards from the deck is one hell of a thing, I tell you what. It doesn't even really matter what those cards do. If they do anything halfway decent, the fact that you can set 4 of them is just like amazing. especially since we already know from the HQ that you can then target 4 cards that are banished during your graveyard, shuffle them back, and draw cards. So presumably, you can do this every turn. So from here, part of me wants to go over all those quick plays and traps to see what they do, to see if they're actually worth setting. But in this case, the advantage is so high, I don't think it's very important. Especially in this case where, like, we're gonna build the deck no matter what. Like, we're gonna be playing these because there's no way you ignore that effect. That effect is just too good not to make use of. So instead, I'm gonna stick with the monsters. Let's just go down the line and see what support we have for these spells and traps beyond just this Turbulence guy. And the next thing on our list is the level 8 Rescue Ace Preventer. So this is also a fire machine, 2800 attack, 2800 defense. You can banish 1 Rescue Ace card from your graveyard, special summon this from your hand. If you control another Rescue Ace monster, quick effect, target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, change it to face down defense position. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you could target one of your banished Rescue Aces, except a level 8 monster, special summon it. You can only use each effect once per turn. Alright, pretty good. Both of these have what I would call the Blackluster Soldier summoning requirements. Like, you just banish Rescue Ace cards. Oh, it's not even the monsters. You can banish the spell traps, and the field spell lets you put the banished ones back. And this one, when it leaves the field, lets you get a banished Rescue Ace monster, accept another copy of itself, and special summon it back to the field. So already we're getting some floating. Just real quick, looking at the level, which if you don't know by these card art, I got the Rush Duel frames. I think they look cooler. But the level's just down here in the corner. You could see the number really quick. And yeah, there's no other level 8, so that's basically just saying you can't summon another copy of itself. You can't loop these over and over again. So even if it just had that on a 2800 body, that would be pretty good, but it's also quick effect Book of Moon while you control anything else. So both of these are really good, and the only reason I wouldn't say immediately put these at 3 is just because they require a little bit of setup in order to make them live. If we've got any way to search these, then these are probably better played at 1, maybe 2 if you need a backup. But we'll see. Let's go on down the line with the level 7 Rescue Ace Fire Engine. Wee-oo. So this is a level 7 fire machine, and I'll stop mentioning the attributes since we already established they're all fire machines. And it's got 25/25. Might not be worth living in, but worth summoning. If a Rescue Ace monsters is normal or special summoned, except for another copy of itself, you can special summon this from your hand. If a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field, you can special summon 1 level 4 lower Rescue Ace from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Interesting, they went away from banishing stuff and just said, you know, if you summon any more of these, you can get this one out. Even if you summon these, you can get this out. And then from there, it just becomes like E-Telly, essentially, for Rescue Ace cards. So possibly, it has a lot of potential. It really depends if this deck is going to be something that sets up a whole lot, or something that wants to get some disruption during the opponent's turn. This might be part of your end board, it might be a one of you play just in case, or it might even just be like a side deck card or something you don't play at all. We'll see. Alright, moving down the line, we've got a level 6. We're still not in normal summon territory, but I assume this will have a summoning effect just like the other ones. This time it's 22/22, and if a Rescue Ace monster is normal or special summoned, except a copy of itself, you can special summon this from your hand. If a cards is added to your opponent's hand, except by drawing it, you can draw 2 cards, then discard 1 card. You can only use each effect once per turn. Alright, so it's got the same effect as the level 7, at least as far as summoning, and this is a good example of something that you would want to put on your field, although they're probably going to search before they summon, so this is probably not something you'd want to summon off of the level 7, but this is probably more useful. Almost every deck adds cards from their deck to their hand, and being able to draw 2, discard 1 seems pretty good. We don't really have anything that's useful in the graveyard yet, but we might in the future. Who knows? We still got several cards to go through. So this again could be something that you play at 1 or a none, or it might be a 3 of. We'll see. Alright, moving on, we have our first level 4, our first normal summonable monster, and it's 1800 both ways. Pretty high stat line. It's also, I'm just noticing, a warrior, so this deck isn't full machines after all. I guess it's mostly machines. Wait, one second, let me double check. Warrior, 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 machine. Okay, so it's warriors and machines. And now that we've got warriors, that means you can search all these with reinforcements of the army. So you got a little extra bonus there. Anyway, let's look at the effect. If this card is normal or special summoned, add 1 Rescue Ace trap from your deck to your hand. When your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, quick effect, tribute this card from your hand or field, then target 1 Rescue Ace in your graveyard and special summon it. You can only use each effect once per turn. Alright, this is kind of a weird one. I was almost prepared to say it's our first 3 of, because it searches when it's summoned, and that's a really good effect. But it searches a trap card. And not only are trap cards not the most useful, but we've already got a card that like sets several trap cards from the deck, so I'm not sure we need this one. Now it does also have a hand trap effect, which is pretty neat. Nice to see hand traps on like archetypal cards, but it only summons one from the graveyard, and so far the only way we have to get cards in the graveyard is like if you have Fire Attacker on the field, and then you draw 2 and then discard a Rescue Ace. So for now I'm actually going to say this is the first one I want to put in the side. I'm not sure if we're even going to play this. Maybe if one of the traps does something in the field, or you need more hand advantage, or there's a way to just like spam stuff into the graveyard, you might want this. Otherwise, we'll see. So next up is our other level 4, which is also a warrior. It's got 1700 both ways, so slightly smaller. And if this card is normal or special summoned, add 1 Rescue Ace spell from your deck to your hand. When your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, tribute this card from your hand or field, special summon 1 Rescue Ace from your hand except Lifter. You can only use each effect once per turn. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and say that is the first 3 of that we want to put in here. Being able to search any spell is really good. If nothing else, it gets you to the HQ, so going first you want that. And that hand trap effect is something that will absolutely be useful going second. You know, if your opponent's normal summons a Stratos or something similar, they start doing stuff, then you can put any of these on the field, and suddenly being able to put like Fire Attacker or Fire Engine on the field while your opponent is comboing off, so that you can essentially fix your hand or put more stuff on the field, that's pretty... In fact, that's so good, I'm going to put Monitor back up here, at least as a 1 of. We might even play more of those. This really does kind of change everything up. If you've got a monster that says you could special summon something during your opponent's turn, then all of these effects get turned on, and now I'm wondering if, like, maybe you play 3 Attacker or even 3 Monitor, so you can just absolutely make sure you get those. I don't know, we'll see. We've got 2 more monsters left, let's check them out. First up is the level 3 Rescue Ace Impulse. It's got 1500, also a warrior. And during your main phase, you can choose 1 effect monster your opponent controls with the highest attack, and neither player can activate that monster's effects this turn. And that's not a quick effect. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Then when your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, quick effect, tribute this card from your hand or field, special summon 1 Rescue Ace from your deck? Or I'm surprised. I feel like I've faced this deck before, and I haven't seen something like this. Let me double check that again. You can tribute this from your hand, summon... Oh, it's a Machine Rescue Ace from your deck. Okay. So you can't get Airlifter, you can't get Monitor, but you can still get Fire Attacker, you can still get Fire Engine. These ones... Reading their effects real quick, you can banish 2 Rescue Ace to summon this. Those effects don't require you to. So this is another one. I'm going to say go ahead, play that at 3. Being able to summon anything out of the deck, And now it's like the opposite, right? Before I was like, if Airlifter lets you summon from the hand, then you want these in your hand. But if you've got Impulse, you can just get these out of the deck. So maybe these are like 2 ofs or something? I don't know. This is a really neat deck, though. I'm starting to like how it's coming together already. I can see the lines building in my mind. Before we get too far, though, let's do one more monster. Level 1, Rescue Ace Hydrant. We're back to being machines, and this has 0 attack, 0 defense, so must be some effect. While you control a Rescue Ace monster other than itself, your opponent's monsters cannot target this card for attacks, and your opponent cannot target this with card effects. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. You can activate a quick play spell or a trap that was set by the effect of a Rescue Ace card the turn it was set. During your main phase, you can add 1 Rescue Ace monster from your deck to your hand. Well, they put that at the end. If I had known that, I would have put this as a 3 of immediately. Okay, it searches any Rescue Ace monster. That makes it a 3 of. That also probably means you play 1 for 1, especially because you've got stuff that gets you monsters out of the graveyard. And wow, okay, so searches anything, and you can activate a quick play or trap that was set by the effect of a Rescue Ace card. Alright, so far we have this that sets cards. I don't think the rest of these do. This searched a trap to your hand, right? Yeah. So it just works with this, but that means if you go first, one of the cards you set you can immediately just activate. Or even if you're going second, you know, if you have this, you search Turbulence, summon Turbulence, then set all these, and you get to use one of them immediately. You don't have to pass and then hope your opponent has no, like, Twin Twisters or whatever to disrupt your back row before you can use it. So right off the bat, this is just a really solid monster lineup. Like, I'm tempted to just fill it up with monsters. I still want to see what all the spell traps do. I'm not sure if you're playing them at 1 just to get off Turbulence, or if you're playing a bunch of these. I'm also not sure what other engines you might want to play with this. We've got warriors, we've got machines, they're all fire. I'm sure there's other stuff that synergizes with this, but what I really like is just seeing the archetype on its own. I can already tell that everything has synergies. And I feel like you could just play, like, 3 of all the low levels, 2 of all the high levels, maybe 3 of like attacker and engine even, just because there's such good effects to get off of your other cards. And then not even have to worry about other engines. You could play this deck pure just because everything fits together so well. It's very refreshing, especially after some of the jank I've had to deal with lately. But yeah, let's not get too caught up in the monsters. Let's just go down the line, check out all these spell traps. Starting with Alert! Exclamation mark. This card is always treated as a Rescue Ace card. Alright, real quick, this sets Rescue Ace quick plays. Okay, quick plays or traps, but it sets Rescue Ace. And let's real quick, this card is always treated. That's the field spell. Okay, so they all have that effect, even though their names are different. These are all searchable off of Turbulence. Good to know. Anyway, this lets you add 1 Rescue Ace from your graveyard to your hand. Or, if you control Rescue Ace Hydrant, you can add 1 Rescue Ace from your deck to your hand instead. You can only activate 1 per turn. Alright, so another reason to put Hydrant on the field. This is your... well, it's kind of your searcher. It's only your searcher if you have Hydrant, otherwise it just gets you stuff out of the graveyard. But because everything discards, and this lets you, like, cycle and everything, this still might be a 3 of. I don't know. I'm at least going to put the other 2 in the side deck for now. We'll see. This seems like something you might want to play at 3. Next up, we have Emergency. Special summon 1 Rescue Ace from your deck in defense position. Oh, then tribute... oh, 1 Rescue Ace from your hand or field. This was a roller coaster of effect. At first I was like, holy shit, they have a card that's just emergency teleport for the deck. It does make you tribute, so I guess if you open a hand that isn't a whole bunch of Rescue Aces, this might be bad. But it lets you tribute from your hand or field, so it gets stuff in the graveyard for Alert or your other effects. I'm not even gonna, before I even finish it, I'm putting 3 of this in here. Anything that summons from the deck is crazy, and just gives me even more reason to play everything at 3. Okay, and then in addition to that, during your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target a rescue ace, trap, and set it. Wow, I thought that the end of this would be some kind of restriction, but no, it's just even more recovery. Just getting another trap back, and it banishes itself, so the field spell lets you shuffle the banished stuff back. That doesn't even, like, affect you at all. And real quick, let me double check this again. It's quick plays or normal traps. I'm still kind of iffy about the field spell. Being able to have your double normal summon, being able to have the attack boost and everything seems really good, but you can't search it with anything. Oh, you can search it with Airlifter. Yes, I guess you just play it at 1 because it doesn't get you started? We'll see, we'll see. This is another thing that maybe might be at 3 because it gets you 2 normal summons, but I could see it being bricky. Alright, next up is Rescue, which I'm just noticing on the art, the exclamation mark's a little smaller. Is it like that on the regular card? Are they trying to imply that it's just a little bit of emphasis, but not a lot? I don't know. Interesting. Anyway, target 1 rescue ace in your graveyard, or if you control Hydrant, you can target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard. Special summon it to your field. You can only activate 1 rescue per turn. Very interesting. It's a monster reborn, but it's also a quick play. And at first I was like, why would you want to steal your opponent's monsters? But actually, it's not about stealing it so much as it is disrupting their graveyard. If you think about this in terms of the current meta, if your opponent sends like a Snake Eyes Flamberge to the graveyard, and that's going to summon 2 cards out, you can be like, no, I don't think you get to summon that card. I'm going to take your Snake Eyes and summon that instead. And, you know, they still get another card, but there's a lot of other cards where, like, if they activate a Monster Reborn and they target something, does Monster Reborn target? I don't know. Either way, if they target something in their graveyard, you can be like, nope. Do the little yoinky sploinky. And this is another one, depending on the meta, you might want to play it at 3, you might just want it at 1 to search it. I don't know. It can definitely be good. It can also be a brick, especially on the first turn if you don't have anything. We'll see. Let's go over. The other 3 are the traps. So these you absolutely can't activate the first turn. Well, I guess you can if you have Hydrant, was it? Yeah, if you set these with Turbulence and you have Hydrant, you can activate these first turn. But it requires a combo, so not likely. I think these are probably going to be things that you just set off of Turbulence and don't worry about. But we'll see, we'll see. First up, we've got Contain! If you control a Rescue Ace monster, target 1 effect monster your opponent controls. This turn, that monster can't attack and its effects are negated. If you control Hydrant, at the resolution of this effect, that monster can't be used as a material for a fusion, synchro, Ixie, or link. Alright, so that's a pretty good effect. Negates, can't attack, can't be used as material. It's like a whole bunch of traps in one. But this is absolutely not something you would activate on the first turn. This is not something you'd want to like set with this and then activate it. So I think I'm safe doing this as a one-of, especially because we have now multiple ways to recycle things, both with the field spell and the emergency. Next up, we've got Extinguish. If you control a Rescue Ace monster, target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, destroy it. Then if you control Hydrant, your opponent cannot activate the effects of that destroyed monster or monsters with the same name this turn. Hot diggity daffodil, that's a great way to get rid of the Flamberge I mentioned earlier. Just not even let it summon from the graveyard. Be like, you can't activate its effects. I'm sorry, it's been extinguished. Same thing as before though. This is not something useful first turn. You set it, you recycle it, it's good. And then what's our last one? Reinforce. Target 1 Rescue Ace you control for the rest of this turn. That monster gains 1500 attack and defense and is unaffected by your opponent's monster effects. And the next time it would be destroyed by battle, it is not destroyed. You can banish this from your graveyard, target 1 Rescue Ace spell in your graveyard, set that card. Alright, at first I thought it was just an attack boost and I was willing to say this is the trap you don't want to play, but there's enough utility on this that you probably do want to play it. Protects from battle, protects from monster effects, gives a pretty substantial attack boost, might be able to help you go for game, and it recycles spells, so you can get back something like your Rescue Ace. Still not something you want to play on the first turn, so I was right about that. But otherwise, still pretty good. I think we'll all put these as one-ofs in here. Alright, so that's all the Rescue Ace cards, and again, just especially compared to the stuff I've been playing lately, it's so refreshing to just see a complete archetype. I know what the win condition is, I know what I'm trying to do, couldn't be more clear. You want to get out Hydrant, you want to summon Turbulence, you want to get 4 cards, and then you're going to like pop a card, negate a card, make your dudes invincible, get their stuff out of the graveyard, and then you're going to recycle it all so you can do it again. You've got your Book of Moon, and everything else is just consistency tools to make sure that happens as often as possible. So at this point, this is where, like, if you're building a deck on your own, what I would do is either sit down with, like, Yugipedia, the Wikipedia for Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and look at, like, the tips page, look at the suggested cards, see what they have, or start looking at other people's deck lists and see what synergies they've found out. Because I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff that fits with this that I wouldn't think of right off the bat, not without a whole bunch of thinking. And you know, why sit there and ponder things when the resources are just at your fingertips? That being said, for the sake of this show and for the sake of my own curiosity, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna try to see if I can build this as pure as possible. I think that the Rescue Ace have enough cohesive stuff that I can make something without anything but like the most basic hand traps and stuff in here. So give me a moment, let me see what I can come up with. Alright, after much deliberation, this is what I came up for with the main deck. And you'll notice right off the bat that we're not actually playing the Master Duel tax. We don't have Max C or Ash Blossom. Now when it comes to Max C, you should absolutely play this. If you're building this yourself, there's no reason not to include it. The only reason I don't want to include it here is just because I'm curious to see how well the deck can do on its own. Almost any deck, if it resolves Max C, can win the game, so I'm curious to see, like, with just this stuff and like a couple tech cards, can we still secure victory? And in its place, I've just put Effect Veiler. We've still got Called by the Grave because there's enough effects here that like summon or search, and I don't want to be ashed ourselves. As for the Ash, probably the same thing. You'd probably want to play this if you could, although I'm actually not sure about it in this deck. I feel like the win condition involves like normal summoning Hydrant, special summoning Turbulence, and setting 4 cards. And if you do that, you're only going to trigger like 1 draw off of Max C. This is a deck that seems like it has a off-ramp, where if you get Max C'd, you can actually stop and come up with an alternative line. And if that's the case, you might be better off just getting rid of the Ash Blossom because you don't absolutely need it to stop a card like Max C. You might be good enough with Called by the Grave. You'd really have to test to find out. You probably would, but again, for the sake of making this interesting and testing out a deck that actually has a cool win condition, we're just gonna keep it off there. We're playing 3 Veiler, 2 of this, and then our other 2 tech cards are just reinforcements of the army and 1 for 1. This searches the Hydrant, this searches all our level 4 warriors, and then speaking of which, all the level 4 lowers, we're just playing at 3, we're trying to max them out. We're playing 2 Attacker because it can be bricky. Fire Engine can also be bricky, but because it summons anything out of the deck and you have ways to like get it with other stuff, I think it might be running because it gets you to anything else. We'll have to see after testing. And then these I'm playing at 2 just because I want a backup. I don't think that you want to open with these necessarily. They certainly help once you get any card into the grave, and I mean you're tributing a lot, so it's easy to do so. But mostly you're just going to summon 1, and you keep the other ones here in case they banish 1 copy. That way you're not completely screwed. Although the field spell still lets you get stuff back. And yeah, pretty much all the things except for the traps, we're just playing at 2 for the same reason. I think they're okay, but not the best. So you know, you want to see them sometimes, but not all the times. Again, if you were playing a more consistent version of this, you might want to shave all these down to just 1 copy and put like Imperm in here, or maybe use that to make room for the Ash. All that's left then is the extra deck. And again, this is something that just like, from experience, looking at what we got here, there's no tuners, almost nothing is the same level. I'm thinking probably the best thing you want to do is just fill this up with links. and I just know from experience what a bunch of good links are, so let's just put those in there real quick. And there you go, an extra deck full of link monsters. And again, this is something that it's hard for a new player to really get. You just kind of have to understand from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And seeing a bunch of decks. You can kind of see the themes, like, okay, we've got a level 1 monster that we're going to be summoning no matter what. So we have all the link monsters that work with level 1 monsters. Okay, we got a whole bunch of fire stuff. Let's put the fire relevant cards in here. You know, if you're going to be playing Promethean Princess, you need a fire that's higher than her, so you put in the Amblo Whale. We've got some machines, we've got a payoff that lets us OTK, and just some generic link good stuff. And, you know, this is probably not the best extra deck you could put together, but I think one thing I can teach you if you're new to deck building is to not stress so much on getting it perfect the first time. Deck building in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is really an iterative process. It's something where you build a beta version, you test it out, you get feedback based on how it performs, and then you make changes. That's a little hard to do in Master Duel, which is why I'm using a program like Yu-Gi-Oh! Omega, where you can come in for free, mess around with stuff, figure out what you want to do. But that's really how you do it, and especially in real life, if you can like proxy or use Dueling Book, there's a whole bunch of other options. But you want to test out decks over and over again to figure out what works and what doesn't, and then make changes on that. And you know, if all of these turn out to be bad, no big deal. We'll just toss them aside, find some better cards to replace them with. So from here, I think what we want to do is test this out. And oftentimes that involves just running test hands, just seeing if you can figure out the combos and how the deck plays. I might do a little bit of that off camera, but the interesting thing about this is that a lot of the plays are reactive. You've got a lot of effects that activate when your opponent does a monster effect. So you can't really test it against an opponent who's not doing anything because you won't be able to resolve most of these effects. You kind of have to sit down with either an AI or another opponent. So let's do that. And I think I'll start with an AI and then see if I can find an actual opponent. Alright, so on Yu-Gi-Oh! Omega, they have a whole bunch of bots. Most of them are outdated, but in that way, they're really not that different from Master Duel, where you can face a whole bunch of bots in the solo mode of decks that are way outdated. In this case, though, they at least have Adamancipator, so we're going to try that out. That's a deck that has a bunch of monster effects that activate on their turn. And then just to make sure we'll be able to do that, we're going to go ahead and go second against the AI and see what happens. And what do you know? We opened with the Monitor. Hey. So they're going to Pot of Desires, summon Seeker, Seeker activate the effect. When your opponent activates, I can tribute. Okay. Shouldn't I have been able to activate, when your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, you contribute this card from your hand, target one rescue ace. Oh, it's in the graveyard. I thought this was the one from the hand. Oopsie doodle. Made a mistake there. But that's fine. We're still doing great. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead, we're going to start with Emergency. And I think we just want to get out Turbulence. We could just summon Turbulence from the deck. Sure. Hello. And then we got to tribute one off, so let's send this. Then let's normal summon the Hydrant. Hydrant gets us a thing. What's our next best card? Probably Preventer, right? This is the quick effect Book of Moon. And then we'll activate the ace. So we get another normal summon. Let's normal summon this. This searches a trap. Sure. I mean, why not? Got a whole bunch of stuff we can do. I didn't even know what I picked. And then let's just banish the Emergency. Because we can recycle everything. Chain the effect? No, I'm good. So let's go ahead. Let's see, what do we got here? Target one effect monster, it can't. Okay, so let's go ahead and just set 4. We know we want the trap. We know we want this. Oh, we just get all 4, yeah. And then because we have the guy, the Hydrant, we can just activate one of these immediately. And I mean, why not? Let's do this one. Let's just pop their card. Goodbye. And then that means we could set these other 2. So, yeah, you know, it's if you ever liked the anime and you wanted to relive your feelings of summoning a whole bunch of stuff in one turn, this can literally just fill up the entire field. I guess we'll attack with the hydrant just to, you know, establish dominance. It's almost doing a T-pose. More like a W pose, maybe? Hard to say, hard to leg. Get Critter back in there. And then, yeah, from here, it's like, oh, what? You got a Doki Doki? I'll just flip that face down. I know how this deck works. And then we've just got so many things. Just summon a monster from the graveyard? Sure. Oh, wait, no, this searches. Sure. Airlifter's a good one, right? Spinning's a neat trick. And then summon from the graveyard? Yeah, there we go. We'll get our fire engine back on. Wii U. 2,500. Now 3,000. And what do we got? 4 cards in the graveyard now, so we can just, like, shuffle all those back. Draw a card. Let's just go ahead, reinforce. Why not? Let's make this even bigger. 4,500. Search another card? I mean, don't mind if I do. We'll just get another thing. Wow, this deck's crazy. I can't believe this deck isn't more popular. I mean, I guess if you have people with like Ash Blossoms and stuff trying to stop you, it's probably not as good. But when it goes off, it's just like, well, damn. I just summoned everything. I just had a whole entire field in like one turn, and I could do it again. And I'll do it again too. Just go in. This is just an OTK, right? Yeah, like I got a 4,500. We're good. Okay, well that settles that. I was so excited about these hand trap things. I'm like, I'm not even sure if I necessarily need them if they brick like that. Granted, maybe they'll build something. I can already see that like we might brick, especially with the graveyard stuff, how you'd want less. But I'm feeling confident enough just from that one test duel. I think we might try to take it against some patrons. Let's see if I can get some people in here, some of Twitch chat to help me test, and see if this does as good in an actual environment. Alright, let's go ahead and load up against Resident Chef. It's like Resident Evil, but with fundamental differences. And see what the hell we've got here. Got a decent hand. They're up against Scareclaws. I remember how this deck works. Okay, what does this do real quick? Special summon one from the deck. Okay, so we tribute this off. They Ash Blossom, and then we're like, fine, if I don't get it, then you don't get it either. Unfortunate. And they've got extension, so they could probably do stuff anyway. Okay. Let's see if we can beat over the fucking Scareclaw boss monster. I mean, it's really good against monsters, but it doesn't have anything against spell traps. Except for this one that they can't be destroyed by card effects, which is like the one thing we do. So maybe this wasn't as great a matchup as I expected. But at least they didn't get the field spell. Okay, what do we got here? Well, first of all, let's go ahead and get some reinforcements for our army. What does this say? This is unaffected by defense position monsters, but I can still activate their effects. So let's get this one. This is the link that searches the field spell. Yay! Do I want the field spell? Yeah, I think I do. Because that gives me a whole bunch of other stuff. Let's go for this. And then we get another normal summon. So we can put this out here. And then we can activate this. I mean, we just go for this, right? Okay, so what is this? Add one from your hand, or if you control Hydrant, add one from your deck to your hand. Yeah, let's do that. I like to search stuff. Why not? Okay, wait, I think we go for Preventer. Because then we can do some shenanigans. So what we're going to do is we're going to activate the Preventer, banish this dude, Max C. Okay, unfortunate, but this is what we gotta do. Okay, and then, do they have an Ash, right? So we can, like, we can go into Heat of the Fire Charmer. And then because that left the field, we can get back the Banished card. Hida can bring back their Ash Blossom. And then we can go up into, we just access. Let me read this again. Your opponent can't target them, and they can't be destroyed by card effects. So I need more links in the graveyard. So let's go ahead and do this. Howdy, howdy. We'll send this off. We'll put this back. And then we'll go ahead and access code with these two. Get this. And then we can activate the access code. Destroy this. They can save it, but we can do it again, baby. There we go. We killed it. And then we activate Turbulence. Discard those two. Summon the Turbulence. Then we'll rescue Ace HQ. We'll put back the 4 best ones, including the spell traps. Ash Blossom, okay. Well, we could still do this. Get one of these, one of these. Yeah, we'll get this. And I think yeah, okay. Set these 4. And then, yeah, wait. We can target one in our graveyard. Yeah. Let's bring back the Preventer. And then we go to the battle phase. And let's go ahead and attack over this. And then we've got 53. Plus 3,000. And there we go. We managed to OTK through a hand trap and a floodgate. Granted, if they had gotten Maxi, or not Maxi, but Nibiru at any point, and Nibiru'd us before we could activate this, then we'd be pretty screwed. Especially since they stopped the search on that, but you know, for a first time going second into a deck like that, the deck worked pretty well. Okay, let's try this once more, but this time with feeling. Fateful Adventure. I don't know what this floating thing. Oh, geez, that's it. Where's the griffin? I was expecting a big griffin to come down here. Well, let's go ahead and activate 1 for 1. That seems like a good thing to get. Spinning's a neat trick. And we can put Hydra in attack mode, because, I mean, once we get anything, we're fine. And then, can we activate both of these? Let's see. No, I can only get one. Oh, but when that one's summoned, then we can activate the other one. Well, dang, that's pretty neat. Let's get Turbulence? Yeah, sure, Turbulence. Turbulence seems cool. I got Droll. Okay. That's fine. Let's normal summon this. I guess we want to go ahead. Do they have anything in their graveyard? Do we have anything in our graveyard? Just that. Okay, so what we're going to do here, we'll take our 2 smallest effects, turn it into a Doolittle, and then we'll just banish these 2? Sure. Get this on here, and go ahead and activate the dang old thing. We'll get this one, and one of these, and I like this one, and this one. Oh, and I get to activate, I didn't even think about activating one. I can already see, like, the plans where this deck can, like, do better stuff, and I just haven't really, like, considered it all that well. But yeah, you know, I was thinking before that this was a deck that could easily play around Max C and have no problem with it. And now I'm thinking that maybe you probably want that Ash for the Max E, because I'm doing a lot more special summoning than I ever considered. So we could do that, we could do that, and then this is, okay, it summons in defense, so we can't, like, get another monster out in the battle phase. Could just do this, though. I could just be like, hey, fire attacker, you know, come back. Go for 22, 27, because of Doolittle Chimera. Just a bunch of big rescue cards, and then a big fat cat, like, hey, how's it going? And then from here, you have a pretty commanding position. They can add the Water Enchantress. Discard her. That lets me draw 2, discard 1. Yeah, we'll get rid of that. I love drawing hand traps off the plane. Yeah, if you were playing more hand traps, it might make some of your other stuff less useful, but it would definitely, you know, make sure that you draw into better things. Second Rite of Aramasir. So they get to summon their token out, and then that triggers this guy. So I can just get my, like, Book of Moon on legs and be like, hey, you have to deal with this now too. Oh, I got Airlifter. That's the wrong one. Well, I've got this one for next turn. I made a little mistake, but it's fine. I've still got more than enough. I still got a pop. I've still got a negate. Yeah, that's unfortunately it seems he bricked talking down in the comments. That's fine though, you know. I think we got an idea of what the deck can do, how it can play through stuff, how it has the ability to just go plus like crazy. And again, we could just use all these and then set a bunch more stuff. You know, why not? Oh, I guess they in-perm it. Oh, and I can't use this because my zones are full. Someone had told me before that you could, like, dodge out of in-perm using that. And I was like, yeah, you can, because you can, if you summon something and they try to in-perm it, you could summon something else and then tribute whatever you just had, the Airlifter or whatever. But it doesn't work if you've already got 5, 6 monsters on board. So yeah, there we go. On the one hand, it did surprisingly well, even with this pure version of the deck. You can already see its strengths. It's already beating decks that I know are competent, things like Scareclaw and Adventure, even through hand traps and stuff like that. Probably not the best deck, but especially if you're playing more casually or you're just learning the game, this seems like a really easy thing to pick up, where you can get the lines down and then learn how to improve it over time. Of course, the unfortunate thing about winning all our test duels really easily is that we didn't learn a whole bunch about what to remove here. I'm still not actually... I'm pretty sure you don't want to play 3 Fire Engine. It seems really neat because it summons out of the deck, but I'm sure with the removal and with how bricky this gets, you probably don't want to worry about it. I'd be really interested to look at some more meta versions of the deck and see how many of these hand traps they're playing versus how many, like, generic hand traps they're playing. But again, that's something where if you wanted to get a more in-depth look, that's when you would look into the more professional deck profiles, the people who have already looked through this. Maybe copy theirs, and then as you play, again, just iterate. If you find their list isn't working for you, or that certain hand traps aren't working in a new format, you want to switch that out. Try different things. Always be experimenting. That's how you find the best stuff. For now, though, I think I'm good. I'm glad that I did this. If nothing else, now that I understand all these cards, I think I'll know better how to face Rescue Ace when I end up getting matched up against them on the ladder. Thank you again to Dudeblade X for recommending that. Once more, check out the Patreon if you like this show, if you made it all the way to the end. And thanks again to Twitch Chat for joining me and giving me all these tips, keeping me company. Critter would like to say thanks to them as well. Go on, Critter. Critter, you can say something nice to Twitch Chat. Come on, they're not that bad. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. The chat appreciates it as well. Come down to twitch.tv/hardleggaming if you want to get begrudging praise from a tiny orange ox. Otherwise, until next time, good luck and have fun.